So here's the question. Do you think that Black Mirror is a fiction that's like way out of reach, or is it so real that it's blowing your mind? Those are the two options. I think one of the scariest things about it is that it seems very real. And in some ways, and if you look at all 6 or 7 seasons, like this stuff's already happening, a lot of it. Or you can see where it's going to happen. So you see where humanity is going. In some cases, the technology hasn't quite caught up to some of the ideas in Black Mirror, or it hasn't entirely at all. But you can see where it would be problematic if it did. And in a way, I'm not accusing Charlie Brooker of laying out a blueprint for the future, like Star Trek did, like they've got flip phones and FaceTime or whatever. But it sort of pushed people. It may have had a subconscious push in that direction. Like, I'm sure if there are sci-fi movies that came out back then, or even now, you've got laboratories like physics laboratories or the CIA or MI5 or something watching this going, this would be a very interesting tool if we could come up with quantum computers that could change reality into a different stream of consciousness. You know, you're telling me they're not going to do that? Of course they're going to do that, because they're going to frame it as like a security thing, but they're going to do it if they can. Just a quick aside here, Beethoven, for example, I went to music school, just hear me out. He wrote music that couldn't be played on the piano at his time. You know, some of it could and some of it couldn't. He knew that he was trying to push the engineers to create a piano that could have 88 keys and could play the works that he was doing. So in a way, I don't think that Charlie Brooker or the people who made Ex Machina or iRobot, I don't think they're trying to push things in that direction, and that's why the movies were made. But I don't think that it matters. Does it matter? I don't think so. It happens that way, or it doesn't. It doesn't really matter whether the people who are receiving it with different intentions. No, they're going to see it and they're going to apply it to the real world. Which brings me to episode 1 of season 7 for Black Mirror, Common People. Just blows my mind, because I think it's so possible that something like this would happen. It's already happening. If you don't pay your insurance premiums, guess what? You don't have coverage. What happens to you if you get sick or get injured or you have to go to the hospital? There's a law, I think, that they have to give you care, but you got to pay them a fuck ton of money, right? I know people in my life, from personal experience, I had someone very close to me who we had to put some major surgery on a credit card. It happens. What are you going to say no to something that could save your life or not save your life? Of course you're going to just do it, you know. So to say that this couldn't happen is ridiculous. Of course, it starts out as comical, this episode. And by the way, spoiler, if you haven't seen it, maybe pause this, go watch it, and then come back to this. But it starts out as comical with them saying, like, look, we want to give you the best brain possible. We know that you would have died without this procedure, but you did sign something. So if you want to be in our Plus membership, you know, that shit's already happening. We're being primed for it. I don't want to sound like I've got a tinfoil hat on with the chin strap buckled here, but like, it's not that far off, is it? And I think that's the scariest thing about Black Mirror, is that you can see the way that things are going. And also the fact that this couple, God, Rashida Jones, come on, bro, my God, she's great. Chris O'Dowd's great. But there are two chilling things about this, besides the one obvious one of that this could happen, and I could see it happen, and it's already kind of happening. But the other is that they're so alone. This divide and conquer thing of like isolate them. You don't see any other people protesting. You don't see people. They don't talk to their family about it because they're probably experiencing it themselves. It's this weird thing where these big tech, big medical companies or movements or lobbies make us feel like it's our fault. So we don't really want to broadcast that information to people around us, like our friends or our family. And so you feel alone. So, you know, rather than do something like that, which I guess you don't have a lot of time in their position. But, you know, he's trying to pay for his wife to have a normal life with the brain surgery. So he's having to pick up a second, a third, a fourth job. How is that not hitting home for everyone? This is like a home run in terms of storytelling, I think, because in the modern era, maybe it's always been going on, but right now you can really feel the weight of that. Like, holy shit, I'm already working 50 hours a week. Now I have to work 70 to pay for something that a family member needs, or their life is going to stop or going to be significantly impacted in a negative way. How long can you keep that up? You know, not indefinitely. So you start doing freaky things. Now, there's something interesting that Charlie Brooker has said over and over again, and he said it for interviews for this season, which was, he's not anti-technology. He is trying to portray what humanity does with this tool, which I think is interesting because Charlie Brooker's a Brit, right? I love the Brits. But having, in my limited experience of having lived there, North Yorkshire, it's not a big gun culture, right? Not like here in the US. So to me, saying that technology is not the problem, that people are the problem, it's kind of the same argument when people say guns don't kill people, people kill people. And I'm not even saying that that argument is wrong necessarily. It's probably some sort of mix of the two. But I kind of feel the same way when he says that. Like, okay, yeah, you're right, but the technology is giving them the tools to make these decisions, to be able to have people jump through hoops and pay money just to keep themselves alive medically. So I think it's kind of a weird argument to make. You're presenting these compelling stories, and it's hitting home because this is happening to us right now, you know. So I just don't really think that it kind of holds weight, the argument that it's just what humans do to it. Because it, you know, there's so many different scenarios where you could argue that you know, at what point does it become something that's not just about the humans? The tech is involved. It's part of it. You know, if you gave everyone a button, 7 billion buttons that were connected to nuclear weapons, and anybody who pushed any one of these 7 billion buttons destroyed the whole world, and you mailed them out to everybody, all 7 billion people had them. What are the odds that someone's going to push the button? I would guess out of 7 billion, it's probably going to be at least 20%. You know, it's not even going to be close to zero. I mean, I wouldn't push it, but somebody will. And I'm probably sounding like the Joker here, where he puts the people on the boat and with an explosives to blow, whatever. You know, the Dark Knight thing. But what I'm saying is that you can say that it's humanity, but giving humanity the weapons to destroy themselves or destroy society is part of the problem. I'm not saying he's not saying that it's not part of the problem. There's too many knots in there. We're about 40 knots off course here. It's a little nautical joke. But you see my point. It's both. And I think both of them being in the equation are what make this series really fucking scary and compelling. And Common People, episode 1, if this is an indication of how this season 7 is going to go, then I'm going to have to get a Snuggie blanket and just sort of like watch it like this under the covers, because the first one, it's a big one.